In the village of Ogobi, where the winding paths were lined with ancient trees and the air was thick with the scent of palm wine and ripe fruits, lived a young woman named Ijeoma. She was known for her beauty, but more so for her quiet nature and curious mind. Raised by her grandmother Neka, Ijeoma had always been warned to stay away from the forbidden forest of Ogbanta. It was said to be a place where spirits dwelled and mysterious things happened. One day, while Ijeoma was returning from the market, she stumbled upon a narrow path that led toward Ogbanta. She hesitated, remembering her grandmother's warnings, but something deep inside her stirred, a strange pull that she couldn't ignore. Before she knew it, her feet carried her into the heart of the forest. The air grew cooler as she walked deeper, and the sounds of the village faded away, replaced by the rustling of leaves and the soft whispers of the wind. Just as she was about to turn back, she saw something glimmering among the roots of an old, towering iroko tree. It was a small calabash, half buried in the earth. The calabash was intricately carved with symbols she didn't recognize, and despite the layers of dirt and time, it seemed to shimmer with an unnatural glow. Curiosity got the better of Ijeoma, and she picked up the calabash. The moment her fingers touched its smooth surface, a strange energy surged through her. The forest around her seemed to shift, and for a brief moment, the world went silent. Ijeoma rushed back home, her heart pounding. She tucked the calabash into her basket and hurried to her grandmother's hut. When she arrived, Neka was seated by the fire, her old eyes watching Ijeoma closely. "Neka, I found something in Ogbanta," Ijeoma began, her voice barely above a whisper. Neka's eyes widened in alarm at the mention of the forest. "Ogbanta? Child, what were you doing there?" Ijeoma hesitated before pulling the calabash from her basket and placing it in her grandmother's lap. The old woman gasped, her hands trembling as she traced the carvings on the calabash. This is not just any calabash," Neka whispered. "It belongs to the spirit world." Ijeoma's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" "This calabash once belonged to our ancestor, Amadi, a powerful dibia who could communicate with the spirits. It was said that he sealed great power within it, power that no mortal should ever possess. After his death, the calabash was hidden in Ogbanta to keep it from falling into the wrong hands." Ijeoma stared at the calabash, feeling the weight of her mistake. "What will happen now, Neka?" Neka shook her head. "You have disturbed something ancient, something dangerous. The spirits will come for it, and they may not be kind." That night, as Ijeoma lay in bed, the wind outside began to howl, and the air grew heavy with an unnatural chill. Shadows danced across the walls, and the faint sound of drums echoed from the forest. Ijeoma sat up, her heart racing. She knew the spirits were near. The next morning, Neka called the village elders. Together, they decided that the calabash must be returned to Ogbanta before the spirits claimed their vengeance. But there was a price to be paid. Someone had to go deep into the forest and place the calabash at the foot of the iroko tree where it had been found. And that someone was Ijeoma. Armed with only her courage and her grandmother's prayers, Ijeoma set out for Ogbanta once again. The forest seemed darker this time, as if it knew she was coming. The air was thick with tension, and every rustle of the leaves felt like a whisper from the spirit world. When she reached the iroko tree, Ijeoma knelt and placed the calabash at its base. As soon as her hands left the calabash, the wind stopped, and the forest fell into an eerie silence. Ijeoma held her breath, waiting for something, anything, to happen. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, tall and cloaked in mist. It was the spirit of Amadi, her ancestor, his eyes glowing with a strange light. "You have returned what was taken," he said, his voice echoing through the forest. "But the balance has been disturbed." Amadi studied her for a long moment before speaking again. The spirits will forgive, but only if you bear the burden of guarding this forest. From this day forward, you will be the protector of Ogbanta, ensuring no one else disturbs its peace." As she left the forest, she felt a weight lift from her shoulders, but she also knew her life would never be the same. From that day on, Ijeoma became the guardian of Ogbanta, forever tied to the mystery calabash and the spirits of the forest. Though the villagers whispered about the strange power she now wielded, they respected her and the sacred land she protected.